welcome into the Questionable Podcast. You got Scotty Questions here with Meko.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? And we have Gionne back.
Yeah.
Papa Gionne.
Papa's back.
Papa coming
back.
coming in hot from the land of parenthood.
Congrats, Gionne.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you look well rested.
He does.
I
am.
I don't remember that.
I am, dude. I really lucked out. The whole pregnancy, I was making this joke that if our daughter gets Rachel's intelligence, disposition, linguistic skills, skin, ability to sleep, and my hair, she'll be golden. Like, she'll be fine. And it really looks like that is happening. She slept, so she ate, we changed her, and then she slept 3 hours. She woke up, ate, changed, slept 4 hours. And
that's really good.
And I mean, she's 10 days old, and this has been the pattern. Like, she doesn't sleep. I mean, I'm knocking on all the wood I have in my room now. But I mean, she has not slept for there was one day where she during the day, she didn't sleep for more than 20, 30 minutes. But at night, she's down for 3 hours at a time. And
so that's the key. That's the key. The key is keeping her up during the day. Because if you can keep her up during the day, she'll sleep through the night. It's just biology. The trick is keeping her up during the day, though.
She just eats and sleeps, man. She's just a tank. She ate.
That's babies.
Yeah. But she's perfect. I know everyone says that, but
no, but this one's different.
She's she's pretty flippin' adorable. You guys, yeah.
Well, congrats, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Thank you. There's one I like it. I hate that it's one of my. I don't hate that it's one of my favorite photos, but so we gave her a sponge bath a few days ago. It's 4 or 5 days out of the hospital, whatever. Mm-hmm. We gave her a little sponge bath, and I'll have to send it to you guys. But she is this wailing, and this the hands, and it was just it's the most tortured. But it's one of my favorite photos of her. But
of course it is.
You will find as parents, it's I don't know, the things that we find enjoyable or cute or funny about our kids will never make sense. Yeah. I think I laugh at my kids the most when they're in pain. It's just
oh my god. Well, she does this thing. She does this cry when she's really when she's got a wet diaper, and when we're changing her and she's just hungry and tired and needs to be she does this when it's all three. She does this thing where she lets out this wail until she's out of breath, and at the tail end of it, it starts to shake, and there's this vibrato to it, and it sounds like a goat. It sounds exactly like a baby goat, and it's the funniest. Rachel and I are sitting there changing her, and we're in tears. We're laughing so hard, but she's clearly in this, but it's it's like a lamb or a goat. It's just it's hilarious.
Can we get that as a sound effect?
I have a couple recordings. I haven't listened to it yet to see how well they turned out, but yeah, I will. If we get them, I'll send them over.
That's awesome. Well, again, congrats from Meko and myself and from everybody, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah. So having touched on the good stuff, we're going to get into some not so good stuff here. But first, welcome in. Please follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, get over to questionabletees.com. We got a bunch of new stuff out there. We have more stuff coming. And get over there if you haven't been. Get over there. Okay? All right. Now, having said that, we're going to jump right in here. The Lions lose to the Cowboys 24-6. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You guys know I listened to the game, but I turned it off. I stopped watching it at halftime.
Oh, he was Scott was inconsolable.
No, it was not a good day for me. I was hoping for the best. And now we're going to talk about a couple positive pieces in the game. I mean, in general, right, the game wasn't out of reach until the fourth quarter. Meko, we just talked about that, but it felt, and I told Meko, it just felt like it was heading that way. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. but we were in it, you know, and a little bit. I mean, not a little bit, a lot because of the defense. We just had some turnover issues. So I just, yeah, I was pissed. I'm still pissed, just in general. I clearly we've all expected more. We're gonna talk Jared Goff in 1 second, but that, I mean, I don't know. We're gonna get into it, but yeah, Meko.
No, I mean,
It's
I
making
think
me
you
mad right now. It's making me mad. And the Amon-Ra St. Brown thing too, like that sucks. It's just one of those days where it felt like everything was going wrong again. And it took me back. And maybe that was part of it too. It's just some flashbacks. Like felt like nothing went right. I don't know, but I think Jared Goff needs a
well, I don't know. I feel a little differently than you. Like I was upset after the game, and like
I'm still
and like I am upset about it. And like I said, like you said, we can kind of get into Jared Goff because I think we do have to have this real honest conversation about Jared Goff and what he is and what he is not. And so that's kind of like how I just phrased.
He's not a good quarterback.
Is that Jared Goff is blank. I think Jared Goff is blank, and I mean,
in my notes I put poop.
John, go. John, you go first, because like I don't know. I'm somehow going to disagree with Scott in a weird way.
Jared Goff is not it. That was my big takeaway. I, as loyal fans will know, I've been defending this man for a year and a half, and I felt like, and part of that was because if he was the guy, then that means this upcoming draft, we could really hammer defense, because that, up until this point, to me, was absolutely the bigger need. And we had more bites at the apple, 2 first-round picks. The Rams aren't looking so good. So like everything was just lining up that, man, if he can just be competent, if he can just do his job, like if he could just be Tyler Heineke or Geno Smith or PJ Walker or all guys, Meko, you and I were texting earlier, like all guys who at the start of the season, we would have said Goff is better than. Mm-hmm. And now, like, he's not. He's clearly not. So this game for me, more than any other, like, I'm done. I'm done with him. I'm not defending him anymore. I'll find, yeah, he was without Swift, and he was without his top 2 wide receivers. But at the same time, and the completions that he was making, like to Hutchinson, were always behind him. Hutchinson had to like turn around. Like Hutchinson was going, I mean, he was the most dangerous shit. Hutchinson's going one direction and he has to like turn around and catch this ball behind him. If there was that was just absolutely setting your tight end up to get concussed or like paralyzed. And there was only one throw that made me, and it was that one in the fourth quarter, that dart to Reynolds, I think it was. I think we all know. It was like 3rd and 14 or something, and he just threw this rope. And I was like, okay, where is that guy? And the way I said it was, Jared Goff's highs aren't high enough to justify how low his lows are, because his lows are so atrocious. I mean, we saw it. This, like and he just doesn't have the raw athleticism that other quarterbacks do to just change the dynamic of a game the way other quarterbacks do. He doesn't have the leadership to just pick up a team and put it on his back. So those 3 things that you look for in a quarterback: consistency, raw athleticism, and leadership, it's just not there with him. And he has yet to show up for a big game in a meaningful way. And so, yeah, I cannot justify, we need to draft a quarterback.
I mean, I feel like that's the easiest way. Like that's like the biggest takeaway, right? And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like that latter part of his highs aren't quite high enough, but his lows are very bad. Like his lows
bottoming out.
Lows scream backup. Like his lows scream backup, and his highs make you believe that like, oh, he can get you to a playoff game. I think if that's like that's the best I can say, because in my opinion, like Jared Goff has done nothing but solidify everything that I've thought about him, which is that contrary to what people might think, I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I just think he's limited. He is someone who has to be put into such a perfect circumstance and a perfect situation to get the very best out of him. And the NFL isn't built like that. It's not built in a way for everything to go perfect every game and every series and every down. You're going to have weapons go down. You're going to have makeshift offensive lines. And the good ones, the great ones can make adjustments. Now, I know I can already like see the comments popping up in our comment section about what about Aaron Rodgers and what about Tom Brady? They have done it for so long prior to what they are going through in this season that like this season is an outlier for those players. For Jared Goff, though, this has been his MO. If we are honest with ourselves, and that's why true. I say like let's have a real conversation. If we are honest with ourselves, this has always been Jared's MO. Jared can have phenomenal seasons when everything is going well, when he has a Todd Gurley that's going off, when his weapons are, when he has an offensive mind calling ridiculous game plans and he's able to just kind of function within that system and not get hit a ton and not have to worry about complex defensive schemes. But when he has to do those things, when he has to beat man coverage, when he has to avoid pressure or has to deal with possibly getting hit or touched a couple times, he falls apart.
Yeah.
And that's
why
sorry, Meko.
No, you're fine. But like that's why like I can't sit here and be honest with our audience and be like, oh, he's trash or he's terrible or like in Scott's point, like he's poop. Like I can't say that. Because like I know that he's capable, but he is limited. He is very much like what he is, and he needs a lot to function. And I think for this team to get to where it eventually wants to get to, which is any NFL organization, which is to get to the playoffs, to compete for a Super Bowl, you need more than limited. You need more than someone who needs to have a perfect situation. You need a game changer. You need somebody who can adjust on the fly and be adaptable no matter the circumstance.
I agree with you. Yeah, 100%. And on top of that, where I go in why I say he's poop, not because of his talent. He has some talent, right? We've seen it. But what I think is mental fragility. He cannot do, I think Belichick and the Patriots broke him in a way we don't even know. Like, and then this game, I thought like he just never really got settled in the game. I just didn't feel like he was comfortable in the game. Now, Dallas D's not bad. I mean, they got Micah Parsons. I mean, they have a good defense, right? And so that's the thing that he has to overcome after a tough loss, right? He had 3 good games, he had 3 shitty games. Now, right? Can we agree on that or no?
He's had 3 really crappy games this season.
That's what I'm saying.
In my opinion, he's had 3 bad games. Yes.
And they're the last 3.
No, it's the last one and then the first one of the season.
Okay, fine. That's fine. I'll take it. But I just think again, where it's 50-50, it's right. It's it's I don't know what to do or what else coaching can do to get him to feel comfortable. It's got to be him. And to John's point, to put a team on the back and do that, I don't think he can do it. Meko, to your point of dealing with adversity, he can't do that. And in this league, right, to Meko, to your point, you have to be mentally strong to get in and around of situations, good, bad, ugly. Like highs can't be too high and the lows can't be too low. You just have to march through. That's what Tom Brady does. He marches through. That's what just generally speaking, that's what I see. He's marching through no matter what. And he always thinks there's a chance to win. Aaron Rodgers, he just always thinks he's going to win. You know what I mean? Like totally different. Like he just thinks he's going to win, and it really used to happen until this season. So those quarterbacks, right? It's just the ones that have the problems here that I'm seeing are the ones that are not as mentally tough. So for me, is mental fragility. That I don't know why that just came to me. I wrote it when you guys were talking, but it's that insecurity, that it's a lack of confidence when he can do it. He's done it. He has the skill. He just has to know he can do it. I don't know what else the coaching can do for him, right? They did it. We thought we rehab him a little bit, right? We thought, come here, rehab everybody, here we go. Great start. Okay. You know, after the new, I mean, I don't know. I'm putting a lot on the New England game, but he played okay. I'm shocked. I was really shocked. That's why I'm so pissed. I really thought they would play better offensively. I know Amon-Ra went out, but it's not like Hutchinson wasn't in the game. I mean, Jamal was doing his part. I thought I'm almost done. And we were in the game until the fourth quarter. What the
yes.
Fuck?
Yeah, that was it.
In the game, I'm watching this offense struggle, and it's like we're like winning. Like, what is going on? Like, it pisses me off because here we are again this season, and I don't want to get into the Dan Campbell stuff. We're talking about Goff, but we've got a lot of losses. Piling up the losses, piling up the L's. So anyway.
No, I mean, that's the one thing that's like reminiscent of last season, but this is where things start to feel different for me because last year it was a horrible start and it was a lot of like bad Goff games in a row. And then like the bye came and then we saw a switch in the OCs and the play calling responsibilities, and well, not a switch in the OCs, but a switch in the play calling responsibilities, and right. Jared Goff kind of came alive. What we are now seeing is that it's kind of the opposite. Like Jared had, like I said, 4 really good games where he's performing well. Like I said, I think he didn't play great in the first one, but like that's only because like the first half, I don't think he played great. He played really well in the second half of that Eagles game to kind of get them in the mix. But I still mark that as like a bad grade for him because he's also the reason they were behind like that. But it's these last 2 games where it's like, okay, you still have the same OC. And yes, you are missing weapons. You are missing DeAndre Swift. You are missing DJ Chark. You did lose Amon-Ra St. Brown. But we also saw you operate in a game without some of those guys before, and you played higher, like you played above your means in that game as well. So what it is, I think to your point, Scott, it is a certain level of mental fragility in that, like, what it seems to be Jared Goff's kryptonite is man coverage. Jared Goff does not play well against man coverage. He does not have the ability.
Not right.
So because this is where I kind of disagree when you say like he has the skill, because what skill he lacks is the ability to beat man coverage. That interception to Josh Reynolds deep down the field, I don't know who Jared Goff thought he was to try to make that throw, but he is not that guy. That is not a Jared Goff throw. He does not. That throw was short, which speaks to his lack of arm talent, and it was not even on target. The interception that he threw to Tom Kennedy, or that got picked off when he threw the pass to Tom Kennedy, also short and like away. Like it just
happened against the Patriots. Skills. The interception to TJ Hutchinson was short. Threw it into double coverage, short.
He doesn't have the arm talent to rifle those types of passes in. Right? Those are the types of passes that you see guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford make those types of like bullet passes.
Yeah.
And even though like, yeah, they're high risk, high reward, but they have so much belief in their talent. Right. And they have that talent that like it's going to get there.
It's confidence. And maybe Dan Campbell should get him on some juicing program like him. Let's get him juiced. Let's get him juiced up. Get some roids in him.
But I mean,
go a little longer. He'll never be short again.
I just I think that's like the biggest example though of like why they need to move on, because it's on tape now that he's limited.
And to that point, Meko, I think real quick, John, just one thing was, I think it's like his feel for the game. He makes these turnovers at the worst time possible too, right? His feel for the game is off. Like generally speaking, he's making these like bad decisions at the worst possible time. And it's just, you should know and have a sense at this point in your career and playing football in general since you were a kid, you should have a sense and a feel for the game. I don't think he has a feel for the game. So combine that with some lack of talent and some confidence issues and mental fragility, this is what you're getting. John, go ahead.
No, I think that's a great, and I think both of those are incredible points. The mental fragility and the not having absorbed the flow of a game yet at this point in your career. And there's the two things that I want to say is one thing to Miko's point about him being limited, which is interesting because like, could you imagine if, like, what do you think our record would be if we had Geno Smith? Because like we have said we have said for a while now, or like or Tyler Heineke or PJ Walker, like any of those quarterbacks who we
or
thought
Malik
would, or Malik. I think now, like I think that's maybe. I'm not gonna say a valid question, but it's a valid thought experiment. But I think it is interesting to consider that like we have all of these guys, you know, we just said that he needs all of these things to go right for him. And all of these things did go right, and he still, you know, he put up an insane first 3 games. And I don't think that should be overlooked, but that was when everything was going right. And then things started to go not so right. And we just saw, as Meko said, him just absolutely fall off a cliff. And whether you call it fragility or, you know, whatever it is, he fell off. And then we see, you know, Geno Smith is without DK Metcalf. They're still doing well. He's still performing. Tyler Heineke just beat Aaron Rodgers yesterday. And like, I don't know. I just so like you put any of these other guys into an quote unquote ideal situation that Jared Goff is supposed to thrive in, and I think they would be performing better. So it's like, so yes, he is limited, but I think it's even worse than that because the type of limited that he is, we've seen other quarterbacks do more with less at this point.
Yeah.
And to wrap up,
you're good.
To your mental fragility point, you know, I'm come from a classical music background, high school, college. Every season with the New York Phil, Chicago Symphony Orchestra, Vienna Philharmonic, London, there are like soloists who are going to perform huge concerts in front of thousands of people. And at the last minute, like they get the flu or they get sick or they get in a car accident or like they're in Ukraine and the country shuts down and they just can't leave. But the concert has to go on. So they call up someone else and say, hey, can you come perform Sibelius's Violin Concerto? Someone who goes, yeah. And they come in and they crush it. And they crush it because they got this, like, these are professionals. They have ice water in their veins. So like, yes, I think it's mental fragility, but I just want to make the point that this transcends football. And I think this is just professionalism. I mean, like just these performers come in unexpected and can just crush. And like, I think that's why I really like when you brought up mental fragility. It is a mindset that you're just, no, this is what we're doing and I'm going to crush it. So I'm going to. So yeah, I don't know.
He's back.
No, but to answer your question really quickly, I think they're 3-3. If it's Geno Smith, they're 3-3. Because I still think like the games they lost because of their defense. Like absolutely, yeah. You can't really take those away.
I know, but if we had a kicker too, Minnesota. No.
But I mean, if your defense doesn't give up 28, like
it's true.
Like they were marching all over.
All right, okay. All right, I'll agree with you. All right, you win that one. Meko was right.
But yeah, you're 3-3 because I think Geno Smith has the ability to be a little mobile and can throw the ball, so he's a little bit more difficult to game plan for than a Jared Goff, who you know where he's going to be. Same thing with Dallas, where like you know he's not going to take off, so it's like you have a very good idea of if I can beat this guy one-on-one, if we can get a couple creative blitzes on, we know where he's going to be. That's the limitation of a pocket passer, which kind of brings us to our next point, which is like, where do the Lions go from here? And I don't just mean with the quarterback position. I feel like that based off our answers, I feel like that's where everybody went. But I mean like the team as a whole. Like, where does this team go now that they're 1-5? Obviously, there's a lot of football left, but like you kind of can't take back the last 6 games.
Nope.
Right.
John, why don't you go ahead?
I think, I mean, we had always said, and we're going to, I think, touch on this later when we talk about the wings, but Brad Holmes' strategy, you know, to maybe to prioritize offense over defense at this juncture was I'll never forget. We've brought it up many times on this show. Brad Holmes' answer to the question, "Is this an audition? Like, is this a make or break year for Jared Goff?" And Brad Holmes simply just said, "He has all the weapons he needs in order to succeed, or he has all the tools needed to succeed." And I think that was a very like dad answer to that question. Yeah. And so
Thanks,
where do we
Dad.
go from here? Like, I think that the organization, the players, everyone knows like, oh yeah, no, he's gone. He's not it. His cap, a bunch of his cap, we're going to have to eat. But I don't know.
I'll eat it for wins.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, well, I'll get into that later. But yeah, I think where do we go from here? I think we can breathe a sigh of relief that the defense, to an extent, figured it out with the individual, with the personnel
really
that they have.
Good way to put it.
Given the circumstances they have, they've stopped the bleeding.
Correct.
And so I think that okay, that's not
right.
The triage.
Glenn,
like,
okay,
yeah,
okay. We're taking crazy pills. Feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
We're in the the patient was in the ER, and everything, like the alarms were going, and they're like, oh my God. So yeah, the bleeding has stopped, and the defense, like, okay, like that's good. Swift is coming back, J-Mo eventually, but like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's not Goff. So I think that's where we go from here. We just sadly draft a new quarterback, because I don't think they're gonna try and trade or free agency one. I think they're gonna have to draft it.
Yeah.
Hey Malik, you want to come to Detroit?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, that was my answer, was like, obviously is to draft a new quarterback. I mean, if we're looking like long-term future, like that to me is the future of this team. Again, there's still a lot of football left to be played, so I could be jumping the gun a little bit, but I always said like how Jared Goff performs the rest of this season, or performed in this season, was really going to dictate his future. And the limitations are there, right? Again, some of these losses are not on him. It's very much on your defense, and there still needs to be a focus placed on your defense. You still need to get better at linebacker. You probably still need some depth at corner, and defensive tackle is a pretty big need, is showing up in a really big way. But I don't know if things continue this way, right? And let's just say, for the sake of argument, they finish very similar to the way they did last year, 3, maybe 4 wins, and you're in that top 3, top 5 draft selections. I don't think you can afford the luxury again of just taking a position that's not quarterback. You got to do that in like the last 2 drafts. You were able to be like, okay, we're going to take an offensive lineman. We're going to take, a defensive end and bypass quarterback, which a lot of teams did as well. But if you're in a situation where you're in the top 3 and a CJ Stroud is there and a Bryce Young is there, a Will Levis is there, I don't know. Hell, let's say you don't want to take one with one of your first picks, if it's in the top 5, top 10, and you want to wait until that Rams pick and you want to take an Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Like, I don't genuinely care, but there's no way that if this season continues this trajectory that you can't address the quarterback position. But saying that, though, where do the Lions also need to go from it? There also needs to be a great deal of like accountability that these players need to take. I don't know if they had been taking it, but like this game specifically, the spotlight is so bright, not just on Jared Goff, but on Jamal Williams, because Jamal Williams' fumble is the catalyst to this all falling apart. They were up 6-3, or I'm sorry, they were down 6-10 with the ability to go up with the ball at the 1-yard line, and all you have to do is do the thing that Scotty said a couple weeks ago about like Jamal is the guy that gets the tough yards. Well, not in this game. That was the tough one that he had to get, and he didn't get it. Nope.
Agree. Okay. No, I'm saying I agree with you. I'm just shocked to see it. As what I'm shocked to see it. Mr. Surehands, I'm shocked. It was one of those things that shocked. Now, Skipper missed his assignment in that too, not giving an out. I'm just saying that happened.
That is a huge out, because the block being missed has nothing. The block being block being missed has nothing to do with you holding on to the football. Jamal Williams hasn't lost a fumble. No, he hadn't lost a fumble. He had fumbled earlier in that game. He hadn't lost a fumble in his career until that moment. John always talks about guys losing track of fundamentals and things like that. Jamal Williams did that twice in this game. Yeah, because I don't care how the fumbles happen. The fundamentals is still to secure the football. You know you're going into a pile. There's not it's not like there was open daylight.
Massive humanity too in that pile.
Yeah.
He ran straight up into this
and it's he lost it
straight up too. If you watch it, he was straight up. He wasn't even. He was I don't know.
And so. And that's my other issue. That's why I say that's the other thing that has to happen going forward. It's these guys got to start taking accountability for their mistakes. There's so many people who want to beat the drum and talk about why Dan Campbell needs to be fired or why AG needs to be fired. No, how about your players just execute? How about your quarterback doesn't commit 4 turnovers by himself? Your running back doesn't fumble twice, even though he only lost 1, but he fumbled twice.
Yeah.
Your veteran middle linebacker doesn't get called for ticky-tack holding penalties and illegal contact. The thing that's the most frustrating is that the things that killed this team in that game are done by veterans. These are done by captains. These are done by leaders.
Yeah.
This wasn't your rookies. You have 4 rookies starting on defense. Those aren't the guys making the mistakes. Those aren't the guys getting called for these penalties.
Right.
So that's for me, right? Yes, it's quarterback in the future. Looking ahead, especially if this season continues to trend this way. But these guys really do gotta wake up and look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah, I agree. And to Miko's point, I'm not going to beat the drum here. Yeah, quarterback. You had 2 years to pass on the QB. Okay, QB time. Deal with it. First or second pick in the first round. Go. Done. If you don't do that, then Holmes, that's a bigger problem down the road when that happens. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But okay. I think we need to do that regardless of how Goff plays the rest of the season. That's where I'm at. Is Goff is. I'm not waiting to see what he can do. I'm not. I'm out on him. I've always been hard on him. I came around at the beginning of the season because why not? He was doing things better. He looked like he had taken a step in the right direction. And this is a huge step back. And when you take huge steps back like that and look as bad as he's looked when he looks bad, right? We've talked about his highs and his lows. His lows are so low. We can't get through that as a team. We're rebuilding. We can't deal with that inconsistency. Middle of the road would just be better generally all the time.
Consistently average. Yeah.
Consistently average would be better for us right now as we're trying to rebuild, the disaster that was created over the years. And so that's somebody like Goff that's high and low. That's not the right guy for us at quarterback. So anyways, I think we can move on. I think we're on the same page there.
I'm gonna call shenanigans. I'm gonna call shenanigans though on that.
What?
That whole because you said no matter how he plays the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm gonna call BS on that.
Why? You really think he's gonna change and be better?
No. I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying that if he does, we would all be singing a different tune. If they go on to rattle off 8 straight wins and it's because of him, none of us are going to be sitting here okay,
that's a hypothetical. They're not going to win 8 games because of Goff, though.
That was the scenario that you put. You said no matter how he plays the rest of the year.
Correct.
And I said I'm calling BS because if he does play better and that leads to wins, none of us are going to be saying this.
Okay.
None of us would be.
Okay, that's Meko, but that's not going to happen. It's not. They're not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So
I'm not saying it's not highly. It's not highly.
No matter how he plays, correct. So I'm just saying. So it doesn't really matter. There's not a ton. There's nothing. Okay. If he wins 8 games, sure. Okay. That's not going to happen.
I'm simply just saying that's the scenario in which your whole hypothetical of.
No, I'm done with Goff. He's out. I don't care. He's, in my opinion, I'm done with him. We got to draft a quarterback next year and move on. I don't care what he does because I don't think he's going to lead us to 8 games. I don't think he's going to win 6 games. I don't even think he's going to win 4 out of here. Like, so that's my opinion. That's all I'm saying. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. At the end of the day, I would love to just see wins, but right now, again, I'm pissed.
I need you to understand. This is not me arguing on whether or not he will win.
I know. I'm just making
it's simply pointing out the hyperbole of that statement of like it doesn't matter how it does matter. It absolutely matters.
For me.
So
doesn't
like
matter.
this is where I'm like
it doesn't matter.
I'm oddly gonna side. I know I don't do this often. I'm gonna side with Scott here. Surprisingly enough, because like I don't know if any of our watcher or listeners, viewers on YouTube, if they're fans of The Boys, the show, fabulous show on Amazon Prime. And one thing that gives that show its tension is we've seen like with any scene that Homelander is in is the most like ass clenchingly tense thing that you've ever seen, because you know that at any given moment he can turn on a dime and just be the most terrifying villain probably in like modern television.
Sure.
And like that's why I side with Scott, is because like no matter at this point, and I think this is a factor of me, like why, like because was so loyal for so long, and like when I'm and like this is just how I am as a person, like when I'm done with someone, I'm done. And like so no matter how good Jared Goff does, I'm still gonna be waiting for that other shoe to drop. And like even if he strings together 3 games, we're obviously going to talk about it and talk about how good it was. But at the same time, like that gnawing, ass clenching tension is going to be just in the back of your mind. And you just are going to be waiting for the other shoe to drop, because at this point it will. And he will, like there will be another 29-0 game, or there will be another 4 turnover game at, as Scott brought up, we will be on the precipice of a playoff appearance. Like it'll like he will have strung together 6 straight games, all divisional, because like all of our divisional games, we had that one outlier in Minnesota, but all of our divisional games now are like in the span of like a month and a half. So say we do the impossible. Green Bay looks vulnerable. We were in that Minnesota game. Chicago looks vulnerable. Let's say we sweep. And like sweep the division. Like we are on the precipice of like our first playoff win. He's gonna like that's when he's gonna shit the bed. Like
if that happens, I'll buy Goff jerseys for anyone who wants one. I want to make. I hope he does. That'd be amazing. That'd be unbelievable.
No, but I'm saying like I don't think like we would ever like. We would just always be waiting for the other shoe to drop. And we would always be waiting for Patriots, Dallas Cowboys, Jared Goff to like show up, because at this point he will, just in the way that like, no matter how nice Homelander is being, no matter how many scenes in a row, Homelander's like, oh, I think like he's getting something he wants. So he's actually like being nice. Like, no, like it just takes that one little trigger and he's just like, oh my God, dude.
I'm still not into it yet.
You gotta watch that by yourself. Like,
yeah, you're gonna
make sure.
No,
make
that's
sure
Arden in the basement. Yeah.
Make sure Arden is down for the count before you pop that one.
Really?
Oh yeah.
For every reason. Every reason. Like language, nudity,
it is
violence.
The Boys, so I could get that.
Literally, like every season will give you a new reason to be like, let me make sure nobody's in the room when I'm watching this.
Oh. Well, that's actually the best advertisement for it. I can't wait. I was like,
yeah.
But all right, so switching gears a little bit in the same vein of things, kind of not sure if they are what they seem. We have the defense actually showing up for a game and looking. I want to say good. Like I'm not even gonna say like okay. Like they looked really good. I mean, in every facet, even when they were making like some mistakes, like. It was like, okay, this one player is making a mistake and it's kind of like hurting them, but they were rallying as a defense. And so I don't know, has this performance convinced you that this defense has finally been fixed? Scotty, how about you go first?
I'm not going to say fixed, but I think that they came together as a unit and they corrected and they stopped the bleeding. They look good. They look solid. I like what Aidan did. I mean, Kirby Joseph, like that was awesome. I saw that. That was awesome. That was a Kirby Joseph, like in the interview room on the draft, was talking about his interviews. Like, man, I don't care. I'll do whatever. Like, just put me somewhere, and I'm gonna make it happen. And that was amazing to see. Like that to me, that was the best thing I saw, was him flipping the turnover. He had a pick he dropped too. He could have had a pick too. So a turn, like a fumble and a pick. He was, I was excited for that because I was high on him in the draft, and I go, this guy, his attitude, that was cool to see. Okudah, they moved him right into the slot more. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was covering more in the slot.
So Dan was asked about that, and the way he described it was that they're going back to playing defense the way they did last year, and playing more of a contained based defense, which requires the corners to play a little more inside. So he's not playing the slot necessarily, but he's just like, they're playing closer to like where the action is.
And so I liked him in there. I mean, he had like 15 tackles or something, didn't he?
Dude was like torpedoing people. It was insane.
That is also a highlight. And then Aidan with his spin moves. Like, you know what? It was good, right? It was positive. It was one of those things, like, when I meet with my spiritual guide and mentor, he tells me, like, if something's dead, it's dead. And you appreciate things that show life, and you accept those, and you embrace those, and you cherish those. And there was more life on that defense. Like all those things I said, that was life. And that, I think, gave the defense more life and confidence. And I thought they played well. And so I thought they had a great game. Is it fixed?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a tough. Meko asks the tough questions.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I know why, but I'm just saying, like, so I thought they had a great game, and I think that Aaron Glenn did what he needed to fix them for the Dallas game. So, is that a fix? Then, to answer your question, Meko, I'm going to leave this up to you. It was what I'm saying. Yes, they were fixed.
I'm going by what you said in the notes, which was yes. I read yes first.
Okay,
so.
then yes. Then yes, it's fixed.
But I think that was good. So I don't think we have enough data to say if they're fixed, but like Scott said, like, there are signs of life on defense that haven't been present for 6 weeks. 5 weeks. And it was great to, like, Okudah is just the guy. I mean, I think we've seen enough to know, like, he is the guy, and it's so great to see. Kirby Joseph, like, we kind of not ragged on, but we went to question Holmes last 2 weeks ago. I did, about drafting a developmental safety when he did. But man, with the experience he's getting, with the reps he's getting, like, he looks like he could be a dog. And with him and Deshaun Elliott, dude, those guys hit so hard. Like, my God, dude, Deshaun Elliott and Kirby Joseph in the backfield. Like, I would not want to be a receiver in that area.
In that world.
In that world. Like,
no.
Period.
You are going to catching a ball. Now I'm good.
You are going to get crushed. And I think that was what was great to see, is because we had said, because that was one of the few bright spots for me, was Deshaun Elliott's hitting and Aaron Glenn, just like the overall aggressiveness that this defense had. But they couldn't, it was like, the bigger picture just wasn't there of, like, an actual scheme or an actual system, and, like, how do these individual pieces fit into a whole? That's what always was missing. But, like, these individual tackles were being made, these individual hits were being levied, and now it seems like, oh, like, all of these individual pieces are fitting into a bigger whole. So now these hits seem bigger. These hits are generating turnovers. These big hit, like, because it's all fitting together. And so, yeah, not enough to say fixed, but it's absolutely
fixed. Meko, give him shit for that.
It is what we needed to see.
Come on,
it
Meko,
is what we needed to see.
Shit. Well, no, because, like,
fix. Come on.
You guys are basically saying that yes, it's fixed, but you guys don't want to, like,
say it's fixed because we don't want to jinx us. Because whenever we do that, we jinx. So you told us, Meko told us not to jinx us, and John's being very careful. I appreciate it.
So we're giving politician answers to this question.
Very political to Meko today.
So
political.
So I believe, like, and I just briefly did this, so my count may be like 1 or 2 off, but I believe the defense yesterday had somewhere between 4 and 5 3-and-outs, like 1, 2, 3 punt.
Right.
That's more to me. That's more than just like, oh, the defense got up for a game. Like, this defense did not look recognizable. This was not the same defense. Like, if that defense that we saw yesterday plays against the Eagles, plays against Minnesota, plays against Seattle,
yes, right.
They win by a lot, and it's
even with Goff playing how he
correct. Did. Well, we got a bunch of points.
No. Well, what I'm saying is Goff played great in those games. Goff played great in those. So the
defense didn't show.
Yeah, if that defense shows up, it's a completely different looking team at this point. And I go back to what Dan Campbell said today in his press conference when asked about this defense. He basically said, like, yeah, we went back to some things that we did last year. We put these guys, we rolled it back. And in some sense, like, some people may say that's, you should probably like blame the coaching for changing it in the first place, but those changes were put in place based off of deficiencies that they saw, and they were trying to correct those deficiencies. Credit to them for not being stubborn in those changes and being able to sit back and say, you know what, then let's roll it back. Let's ask guys to do what we asked them to do last year that they were comfortable doing last year, and let's see if they can perform better. Having it, like, the playing more of a one gap scheme where, again, your defensive lineman, Aleem, Bugs, they're more so just kind of like holding up and they're more like reacting as defensive linemen. So they're not being attacking defensive linemen, but they're holding up blocks and then reading, reacting. Kudos to them for standing Aidan up and not being so hell-bent on being like, well, no, we need him with his hand in the dirt. And Aidan responded. So for anybody who thought I was being like hard on him for saying that, like, oh, you're counting him out too soon. No. This is what I expected. This is what I meant when I said, like, he needs to be dominant. Right. When we were saying,
all of us,
when we were criticizing him and saying, like, hey, he's not doing enough, I dare you take that game and compare it against the Washington game, the game where he got sacked, and I bet you realize there's a difference. The sack that he got, where he hit the spin move on the tackle and was in Dak's face in like 2 seconds. Like, he wasn't getting pressure that quickly in any other game. I don't care if he was leading the league in pressures for rookies. He wasn't doing it that quickly.
He went from Greek yogurt to gelato.
Outstanding.
Hey, listen, they spiced him up a little bit. They added some more things to him.
Yeah, strawberries and blueberries, double berries.
So I tend to think that the defense is fixed, not just because of how they perform, but from the changes that they made. Like, it's a wholesale change in scheme, it sounds like. And this is very reminiscent of what it felt like they did last year with the offense, where they were like, you know what? We can't swap out our personnel. We can't wholesale swap out everybody, but we can swap out how we attack and how we approach our offensive game planning. And they did that with the defense. And by God, did it look different. The mentality is different. Jeff looked like a man possessed. And I know some people will be like, oh, I don't want to see my corner tackling that much. Look at where he's making his tackles, though. He's making them within 5 yards. Like, it's not like he's, out there 20 yards down the field and making tackles. Like, he's getting guys at the line. And before anybody says it, no, that is not a reason for you to move him to safety. I saw a couple people saying that. It is not. Because he's doing a great job playing corner. Like, an amazing job playing corner. You don't put him at safety.
No, he's a highlight right now. I mean, after his injuries, it's amazing. Couldn't be happier for the guy.
Well, another thing, so we've been talking about, and I'll only say this very briefly, Josh Paschal. I think he was on a snap count to kind of get, just because this was his first game back, so I think they did have unlimited snaps. But my God, when he was in there, there was a tangible difference.
True.
And I mean, I wrote off Levi Onwuzurike. You guys brought it up last week. But my God, Paschal, though, just if Okudah, seeing his development after that injury, if if that is a sign of what's to come from Pascal on a more consistent basis, with more recovery, with more getting used to NFL speed and tempo and contact, then Aleem and Pascal in the middle, then I mean, it's just night and day. Like, it's tangible. It's so much different. And I don't know, like Meko was saying, I don't know, like fixed, but it was great to see. Happy for the guy, happy for the defense.
I'm gonna double down on that a little bit because I was hella impressed. I'm gonna go as far as to say this. What I expected to see out of Aidan was what I saw out of Josh Pascal. I mean, he looked explosive coming out of a 3-point stance. He looked explosive coming out of a 2-point stance. He looked great defending the run. The one run that I think it was like Zeke trying to get outside on like a 3rd down short run, and he stretched the play out by having like such great contain that Jeff was able to come down and make that hit to force 4th down. Like, Josh Pascal stood out in an amazing way. And again, I'm not to say, like, I don't mean to make it sound like I'm like, downplaying Aidan's great game, but Josh Pascal, for a 2nd round pick who had missed so much time, stood out. And I mean, again, Dan even said so. Dan came away very encouraged by Pascal's performance. So, John, I'm with you. Like, that tandem with him, Aleem, Hutch, not to mention the other young guys that are on the defense, like, you feel like you have something there if they can put together a really good scheme and plan of attack.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump down because like this podcast is already going longer than I wanted it to.
Yeah.
The Lions do have a game this week. They do play the Dolphins. Let's just get it out there quick. I mean, number one thing on your board that the Lions have to do.
Well, Meko, why don't you go first? Because I said what you said.
Yeah, I mean, continued defensive growth. Like, the defense has to continue to play well. They have to take what they did last week and then double down on it this week against Miami. But they also have to have 0 turnovers. Like, to Scott's point, I think you're the one that said it. Like, Jared Goff doesn't need to play like a superstar level. He just needs to be average. Like, be average.
My notes
and I feel like we'll be okay. Because I do think this defense, like, I mean, granted, it's one game against Dallas, but I do think they have enough to contain what Miami does.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tyreek Hill at this point, too.
Keep a safety deep. Like, I think that's you look at Kirby Joseph and you're like, you don't let anybody get past 20 yards on you.
Like, you don't think Kirby Joseph is up for the challenge of like, watch me stop Tyreek, like, or try to? I mean, that dude, I mean, he'll do I'll do whatever. Like, and you don't think that he's watching? I mean, I just think, yeah, they're up for it. My notes are Goff needs to not suck. Like, if we can get the ball out into receivers' hands, I just think that it's a lot of it relies on Goff getting the ball out and not turning it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said everything Meko said. Defensive, continue.
What he said.
Sustain the defense, 0 turnovers plus DeAndre Swift.
Oh, they need Swift in such a big way,
dude. It's Goff's like security blanket too. I mean, there's also a comment in regards to that, like security blanket. Like, Goff needs that. Like, unfortunately,
it's more than a security blanket. I think I said it. I don't know, Scott, if it was last week or the week before. This offense runs off DeAndre Swift
for sure. I think you said it last week.
Yeah, I used to think it was Jared Goff. It's DeAndre Swift. They need Swift because the offense just looks different. It's more dangerous. There's more variables that you have to contend with when DeAndre Swift is in the back.
Yeah, agree.
Or out wide playing receiver. Like, there's more things that you have to consider as an opposing defense.
I don't know if he's going to play. Do they think he might?
I think he'll play next week. He practiced most of the week in a limited capacity, but they just probably were like, yeah, we want him for the rest of the season, so like, let's not play him for this game. And the crazy thing is, like, again, into the 4th quarter, they were there. They had every opportunity without DeAndre Swift. So it's like, I have to believe, I'm with you, John, that if they have him, that it's a huge difference even if it's just with running the ball and maybe just playing more keep away with Miami's offense and just, like, hey, we're going to run a lot of clock.
Yeah.
So that's basically like all of our Lions topics. We're going to switch gears here because there are actual other teams playing. And some of them are a little more encouraging, and some of them are
that's true.
The seasons are at least longer. So, I mean, we have more time to figure out if things are going well or if things are going poorly. But we're gonna kick things off first with the Pistons. They've currently played 3 games to start the season. They won their first season opener against Orlando. I caught some of that game. That game was really exciting. But since then, they've gone and lost their last 2. I'm gonna go ahead and just give my thoughts first, guys, and then you guys can kind of, react, respond, tell me if you think I'm crazy. But my biggest takeaway from this Pistons team early in the season, very early in the season, the positive is that this young core looks to be it. Like, I've never felt this confident about a young collection of talent on a Pistons team in so long. I mean, Cade, we saw last year, so we kind of know like that's your point guard of the future. Sadiq is a favorite of mine. I don't know why people seem to not think he's all that great or think that he's a trade piece. I think Sadiq is a foundation piece. He's put up some really big numbers in these first 3 games. So outside of the first game, but the last 2, he's played really, really well. Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren they look like they're the real deal. They really are. And it's very rare that you get 2 first-round picks like that hit the ground running the way they are.
I've seen it. Mean, it's clean.
Jaden Ivey is everything. Everything that they say
cool.
He is that. And Jalen Duren is the same way. Like, I have a sneaky suspicion that it would not surprise me if Jalen Duren starts at some point this season because he's that good. He's that good. He's that athletic. And it's not like to downplay the growth that Isaiah Stewart has had, but I just think that they will need what Jalen Duren provides to complement Cade. I think they'll need that in the starting lineup a little bit more than what they need from Isaiah Stewart. Who else am I missing? And then they got depth. Like, they actually have depth on the bench that I actually feel good about.
Right.
Killian Hayes. Jalen Duren's currently coming off the bench. Isaiah Livers. Brogdon Bogdanovic is currently starting, but I mean, he's stepped up and provided a veteran presence.
Rogers.
There's Kevin Knox. Like, there's depth there that you feel good about. The only like negative that I have on this team is that like they can't continue to give up on average 121 points per game. Granted, small sample size. But in back-to-back games, you've given up 120 plus. And that's a problem. That's a recipe for disaster because your team is just too young to be able to like hang with teams like that. So I think if I'm Dwayne Casey, like the biggest thing that you have to do is find a way to buckle down defensively and figure out how to get these young guys to play a cohesive brand of defensive basketball to complement what they do well offensively. A lot of these guys are talented offensively, but you just got to get them in a mindset where they can lock down guys defensively. Because, I mean, again, averaging 121 points per game to opposing teams, 4th worst defensive rating through 3 games again. Opposing teams are shooting 48% from the field and 39% from 3-point range. Like, those are recipes for a disaster. So it's a long season. They're young. I think they will get better as the season progresses. I don't think playoffs should be in the sights, but I think that they should, again, we talked about this, I think last week, they need to make a push. They need to at least not be looking at a lottery pick this upcoming year. And I think with the talent they have, I think they have a good chance of that.
Meko, do you think that on the squad right now, they can improve defensively, or do we need to trade for somebody? Do we need somebody else? You think they can do it? That's my question to you.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing too. Like, they have really good defenders. Cade is 6'7". He's your point guard, right? So he has the length and the athleticism to be able to guard really well. Sadiq is was advertised as a 3-and-D guy, and I think he can play really good defense, being able to guard the 3 and the 4 spot. Jaden Ivey, again, isn't nearly as tall as Cade, but he's quick. He's got agile feet. So again, like it's just getting them to play that style of defense together. I think Jalen Duren is a better rim protector than Isaiah Stewart. So again, that's a reason why I think if they continue down this trend where they're giving up a lot of points, and I don't know the breakdown between twos and threes of like what they're giving up the most of, but let's just say for the sake of argument that they're giving up a lot of points in the paint. I think that's when you'll start to see that switch from Isaiah Stewart to Jalen Duren, just because he's longer, better shot blocker, can be a better deterrent. So, but yeah, I mean, even when you go to the bench, Killian Hayes is a really good defender. Isaiah Slivers is a good defender. Kevin Knox, solid defender. Like, so it's not that these guys can't do it. It's just part of it, I think, is chemistry, and then part of it is youth. And they just kind of got to get that worked out. And fortunately, NBA seasons are long, so you have enough time to figure that stuff out as long as guys stay healthy.
Right, that's always the case. But I'm gonna hop in right after Meko. No, I agree. If we can fix the defensive issues right now, that we just can't be we can't be at the bottom. Can't be at the bottom. You just can't, right? The wings were last year. We're gonna get in that in a minute. On a lot of categories right there in the bottom, and you just can't function that way. But I think if we can get out of our defensive issues, I'm with Meko. Our young talent looks great, right? I'm really excited to see it. They're fun to watch, and hey, fun to watch is fun for me. So if they keep it close, it's been entertaining, and the opener was great too. Right? I'm really happy that they were able to pull that win out. So, Gionne?
Yeah, I don't have much. I'll keep it brief because I haven't been able to watch much. But what I have is really fun because it's on. The games start at like 4:30 out here, so I'm still working at that point. So I just have a screen and I just put it on mute. It's really great. But I was able to catch the fourth quarter. I was able to catch the fourth quarter of the opener, and I was really surprised. And I was like, "Huh, they look a little." Granted, I haven't watched basketball in a while, or I don't watch it consistently enough. I'm looking forward to watching more of it. But I was like, oh, they look not sluggish, but this isn't what I was expecting with all the hype around the draft. And then my idiot brain like realized, oh, like then I saw them sub in Ivy, then they subbed in Cade, then they subbed in Jalen Duren, and then and then it just was like, oh right, the young core basically is my biggest takeaway. And Sadiq Bey looked really good too. And the young core was my biggest takeaway. It was really fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's 3 games into the season. I don't think like there's anything like there's no panic, right? Like there's nothing.
It's the warm-ups.
I mean, like I said, like I would have loved to have seen them win more of these games because the teams that they are losing to or that they lost to are teams that are like right there on par. And I believe that like when you're in a situation where you're trying to separate yourself from the pack, you have to beat the teams that you're on par with. And so losing to the Knicks the way they did, losing to the Pacers the way they did doesn't make me happy. But again, I'm not gonna like flip my lid either. It's 82 games. Like figure it out the rest of the way. Now, if this continues to be a pattern, right? If they go on like a 10-game losing streak out the gate, well, then yeah, we gotta have a different conversation, and it's gonna start with the head coach.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just say it right now. That's where it's gonna start.
Last season too.
Well, we talked about it last season, and we ended the season with that. Like, when is Casey? When is that the problem?
Christmas.
Yeah, because I mean, we all just said it, right? We
talked about it last year. We were like, well, okay, he's got to get, he's got to get to Christmas. Okay, if he's not, like,
I mean, if they
shouldn't make it to Christmas.
Not if you lose 10 games straight to start the season. And again, I don't think it's likely. Again, Dwayne Casey is a very good coach. They have some young pieces. I know they're going to struggle, but this team is like, I can't remember the last time I said this about a Pistons team, but they're too talented. Young talent, but they're too talented to lose 10 games straight. In my opinion. Like that to me would be unacceptable. And I think that would be the writing on the wall.
That's totally fair.
But switching gears to the other Detroit team that is also currently in season, that is also having a really hot start to their season. We got the Wings. We got the Wings, who are currently sitting.
Dingers, ding 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 ding.
Who are currently sitting at 3-0-2. Scotty, I'm gonna hand it off to you because this is your
fine.
world.
I got it. I got you. No problem. Grabbing the baton. So the Wings, yeah, to Meko's point, 3-0-2, first time since 2011 that out of their first 5 games they don't have a loss. There's a lot of interesting points, so I'm just going to run through them a little bit. Overall, with the Wings, in my opinion, new coach is doing a good job. The team is responding well to that, right? Hockey is very much a team, like, there's a bunch of guys on the team. Like, you have to go in the same direction fast. Hockey's played really fast. So you got to be on the same page. Not a lot of questions, not a lot of hesitation, and you'll do just fine. And that's what they're doing. New coach, Lalonde, like, give him credit. He's stepped in and he's got them going the way that he wants them to go, which means fixing our defense, which they have done. And in that, we are 17 for 17 on penalty kills this season. That means for the 17 penalties we've had, we have not given up a goal. That is huge. We were last in the NHL last year. And if we weren't last, I'm sorry for those that know the stats, we were close to last. Okay. And also now I'm going to flip it to the power play, right? We could not score a power play goal to save our lives. We had 3 power play goals in our last game. So shove it. And then the other stat, which is really interesting, that Yzerman, right? We had a big offseason free agent acquisitions. Our top point getters right now, of the top 5, 4 of them were the free agents that Yzerman got. Dylan is in the top 5. So, so Kubalik, Larkin, Perron, Mata, Sundqvist. Like, that is saying something. Good on Yzerman. Yzer playing. He got some leadership from teams that were in the playoffs that have won. And to me, that's a big difference, right? We have leadership that has been in other teams and other situations that have won, right? A lot of what we had for the Wings for a long time was a lot of players like homegrown, right? They only knew us winning. They didn't know like what losing felt like until we started losing, and then they didn't know how to get out of it. And so bringing in this new fresh blood of leadership, it's been really great. Our goaltending has been good. It still can be a question mark, but right now it's good. We'll see how that pans out. But right now, Kubalik has the most points on our team. We got him from Chicago. This is his 3rd straight multi-point game. This guy is crushing right now. So those are my big things. Wings playing New Jersey on Wednesday. We should continue this. And I am excited. Again, early, long season, right? I don't want to get my hopes up, but this start of the season has corrected our issues from last season. So immediately our new head coach and, the coaching has addressed the problems and so far has fixed them. Now, can it last? Can we stay healthy? Right? That's the question. But right now, I'm excited about the Wings. We'll see what happens next. But in this, this week, it's looking up. I'm happy about it. Gionne?
I just want to say on a personal level, I love this Scott so much more than I love despondent, speechless, angry, bitter Scott that we're talking about the Lions.
Well, okay.
No,
won something.
Well, yes, there's that. My biggest takeaway is more so to kind of connect these threads between the Pistons and the Red Wings to the Lions, and that, my biggest takeaway is perhaps the approach that Yzerman has taken in relation to like building this team. And whereas, and again, there's differences. Everyone on the ice and everyone on the basketball court, like, they have to play both offense and defense. Whereas in football, it's 2 separate units. So right off the bat, it's not a 1-to-1. However, it really seems like Holmes put together a high-powered offense before he had, a competent or like good high-powered defense. And through the first 3 games, again, everyone plays both positions, but it seems like the Pistons have prioritized offensive potency, whether that's a change in coaching or a change in, just getting these very young players more experience remains to be seen. But it seems like the Lions and the Pistons both went in the direction of offensive potency, and Yzerman just got these monsters of human beings on defense and
wingers. The wingers are huge.
And wingers and veterans to just anchor this team.
Correct.
And to kind of and to like lay the foundation to like, no, like the shit stops here and everything is up from that point. And the Wings are 3-0-2, the Lions are 1-5, and the Pistons are 1-2. And I think it's trite and it's a cliche that like defense wins championships, but I think it's also a hell of a way to start a building process. You don't start a skyscraper with the top floor.
That's totally fair. And John, to your point, having said that, right? I mean, Yzerman played. There's a difference in it too. Like Yzerman played, and now it's finally he's been it's 3 years in. It's finally his program. It's becoming his program. That's another thing that I think that people aren't really talking about that I've heard. It's becoming his. He's making it his in his signature Yzerman. It's about the team. It's about the group. It's about defense first, and we move forward. Yzerman could have been a top goal scorer if he really wanted to. Like he could have done that, but he came to the Red Wings and he wasn't. And he was about the team, and we want to win. It's about championships. And so it's interesting that that's what's gotten him to his successes in his life. And congratulations. I mean, dude, you're getting that role. It's not it's not random. And he's building something. And so I feel, and again, we said this earlier with the Lions, but I feel though from the top they're building something. So we'll see what happens again. But yes, to John's point, we're drafting and we're trading for monster humans, the Redwood line. We're changing. Well, and that's what Tampa did, right? They got huge defensemen and bigger players that can lean on you, and there's nothing you could do. So anyway,
I was gonna say, like, to John's point, I think that is like probably the biggest difference is like, I mean, obviously it's the sport itself, but it's just like what you're able to do and what you're able to do in your respective sport. I mean, there was a time in the NBA where that was the strategy as well, right? Go out and get big guys that could just dominate the paint.
Ben Wallace.
Right. And then then 3-point shooters came in and they were like, oh, well, now everybody has to draft differently. Right. The NFL is very similar. There was a time when you just draft defensive and offensive linemen really high. And now it's like, nope, you get quarterbacks and pass rushers and now corners
and wide receivers.
Like you, right. It's
either, I mean,
but it's a shift in approach. But I think the one thing that, like, for me, like looking at the Wings from afar, because I haven't got to watch as many games as I did last year so far.
It's early,
but it does seem like there's a greater amount of effort being put forth and a certain amount of mental toughness that probably wasn't really there as prevalent last year. Scott, you and I talked about it last week with the overtime loss to the Kings. Like the fact that like they could have kind of just given up and laid down, but like Larkin's making this hustle play.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
To basically get the puck back for them to be able to score and to be able to be in overtime. And then to go out and then play the Blackhawks. And again, you could just be on like down on your laurels about, oh, we lost in overtime. But like, again, play another team really, really tough and still maybe come up short. And then to flip that around though, and then go play Anaheim and then be like, nah, 5-1. Like, so just to have that mental switch to be able to not get stuck on maybe poor performances or not quite getting it done, but still like constantly improving game after game, I think is the biggest takeaway I have for the Wings. And early in the season, but it's what you like to see.
Right, because you're starting that trend, right, Meko? Right. When you start that trend and that habit of winning and fighting for the puck or fighting for that extra, like Larkin coming back, to Miko's point, yeah, Larkin was skating back. It was an open net. Guy had a breakaway, and Larkin dove and got his stick in between his skate. Guy, like, you can't coach that, right? And now we got a new coach. Everyone, again, and I don't want to. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is a contract year for Larkin too, so he's going to have to show it. So, and he is. And so my question is, like, where was this last year? Now we know that Blashill been there for a long time, and they were over it, clearly over it. So let's just hope this can continue. I think it will. But yeah, Meko, you're totally right. Their effort, their hustle, like, we are out checking teams. We are out hustling teams in stats. We're statistically out hustling every team we played. And the biggest thing, I think, that our coach Alon that came in, he said, you can't lose 30 games straight up and make the playoffs, right? We were losing, not even going to overtime and losing. So this season, right, our losses have been in overtime, and that's been because of late game hustle and effort to get it there. So yeah, it is a positive right now. I think the Wings are a positive light in a little bit.
In a dreary, sports season, but I think, like, the
winter starting, fall happening, dreary life that's about to appear. Sorry, Meko. But
no, I was gonna say, like, no, you're right, because if we have to start talking mock drafts in like 2 weeks, I would be really pissed.
Yeah, well, that's where I was gonna just last thing I'll say, because then I have to go. But Brad Holmes, in full defense of him, he was taking heat for drafting injured players, and I kind of knocked him for the offensive push. There are reasons. I think I really think they wanted to give Jared Goff as big of an audition as they wanted to so that they could confidently say he's not the guy. We've already covered that ad nauseum. But if Pascal keeps going where he's going, and if Kirby Joseph keeps going where he's going, then I think the 180 people will have to start talking about with, because we already knew Holmes could build an offense. My God. And I think people are going to have to start changing their tune as to the defenses that he's built. If Pascal becomes a fixture, and if Kirby Joseph continues on the trajectory that he's on. So maybe I just invalidated my whole spiel from earlier, but
no, because I think, like, the sports are different, like we said, and the approach is different, and I think to your point, the mindset and the goal of each team and in each draft is different. I do think, and I'm in full agreement with you, that he went offense heavy to give Jared Goff because if you're going to potentially have to pay a quarterback $30 million a year, you better be sure.
Right.
You better be sure, because if he's not, then guess what? Then you can get a cheap guy on the, in the draft, whether that's packaging picks, whether that's you already having a high draft pick, whatever the heck you want to do. But I mean, we'll talk about it when we get closer to the draft, but it would not surprise me if we end up discussing whether or not this next draft is a make or break type of draft for Brad Holmes. In my opinion, just because third draft, like, he's hit a really big, it looks like he's hit a home run with the second one, the same way he did last year. But, like, this third one could be even more pivotal just because of quarterback weight. I mean, there's going to be some offensive line needs. You can't draft another group of injured guys. I don't think, like, the fan base is going to tolerate that.
Right. Yeah.
I think
patience is out, is worn.
Yeah,
worn out.
He got two, like, freebies almost. Like, okay, like, all right, now you're on the clock. Like, Holmes is on the clock. Maybe I would put it this year, he's on the clock. So this next draft would be, you're on the clock. You got to now finish it, at least for what you've done. Who's healthy, who's not, who stayed healthy. Can JMO hit, right? If JMO hits too, I don't know if Goff.
Oh yeah. How does that draft pick look now that DJ Chark's on IR? For people who were questioning that.
Amazing. Right. I mean, but I love the JMO pick. I was a huge fan of that.
Not talking to you guys, but there were a group of fans out there that were like, why did we waste it? That's why.
Right. That's why, dude. These guys get hurt all the time. And I'm excited. I can't wait to see him too. Still, I just hope Goff can get him the ball.
That's the bigger question. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm with you, Meko. Yeah. Like, I think that we can talk about that. We're not there yet. I don't want to start talking about the draft. We're mentioning it now. We're not talking about it in depth, but yeah, I really do think this is the year, third draft for Holmes. It's finish the pieces and let's see what happens, after that. So, ugh.
Yeah, man.
Woo.
But I think that does it.
Yeah, there's a great show.
Does?
Tight.
Yeah.
Tight.
Concise.
Lean.
The lean program.
Yes.
Look at us being a bunch of organized dads just working through a podcast.
Oh. Now Meko can say it, and it is a trinity of fathers.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Fathers of
we gotta
daughters.
Get get questionable
That's
dad
true.
shirts.
Oh. Well, we had a whole idea for questionable kids.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to slides. Deal with it.
Crushing rails.
Oh my God.
That's a questionable shirt, I guess.
That would be questionable.
Do that. Oh boy. Some rails. It's like some kid rails in the snow though. Snow setting. Anyways, so having said that, yeah. So again, thank you guys, right? I think that's it. We'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, please like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you made it this far on the podcast, thank you. I want to thank my family, the crew, you guys, everybody that's supporting us and everything we're doing. There's so much going on. I am overwhelmed. That is an understatement. So anyway, Meko.
Yeah, like always, got to give a huge shout out to my wife and my girls for dealing with my busy schedule and allowing me to have a little bit of time to do this podcast with you guys. Shout out to everyone that is commenting and watching our videos. Again, we appreciate you guys. Yeah, let's have some healthy debate because I know there's a group of you that love Jared Goff and you're probably not going to like the things that we said about him, but hey.
Don't care.
I got time. Let's discuss.
Fine. It's my opinion. It's my opinion.
But yeah, man, that's about it for me.
Well,
Gionne?
I gotta say
Gionne,
thank you.
Are you there?
A big thank you. What?
Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
Are you joking right now?
Yes, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I had to do it.
I want to thank my wife and my daughter.
Oh,
look at that.
Yeah.
No, my girls, as Meko would say. Oh, we didn't get a drop today.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the thing. I had to do it.
I didn't mean to, but I did.
But I did.
No, and a very special thank you to my mother-in-law who's come over and she's made us dinner every night since we got home from the hospital. It's just been fantastic. It's been like one less thing we had to think about, and she's just been an absolute godsend. So, yeah, living in gratitude over here.
Wow. And let's end with that. Living in gratitude. Thank you guys. Thank you all. And that's the Questionable Podcast out.